All right, hello YouTube. It's Progressive Thinker here, and today on my second weekly live show, I have two of my friends on, Mahmoud and Christian. You guys probably have known them if you've been watching my channel for a while. I suspect that a lot of you do know who these guys are. And today we're just going to talk about a bunch of things. But I guess we could just start off talking about the results in Indiana last night. So, what do you guys think of the primary results?
Irrelevant.
Irrelevant.
At this
I
point,
disagree.
I think both of those races were over. I think, I think Sanders is done. It doesn't matter.
Hmm.
And I think for the Republicans, that was just like banging home something that should have been obvious to most people at this point. But I guess some Republicans were holding on to hope that
Right.
somehow Ted
Yeah.
Cruz or someone would come back.
Yeah.
I agree with you as far as the Democratic primary is concerned, that it is pretty much over, even though Sanders won. But as far as the Republican primary is concerned, there was so much money put behind the other candidates in
Oh,
this
yeah.
whole like Stop Trump movement. Like there was $8 million spent in Indiana, and then you look
Mhm.
at all the things that Ted Cruz did to try to win that primary. First, he got Ohio Governor John Kasich to drop out of the race, right? Then he got the endorsement of Indiana Governor Mike Pence. Then he named his vice president, which was ridiculous. You don't do that before you get the nomination, but he
Yeah.
thought it would help him win. And he relied on the fact that Indiana is a more conservative state than the other states that voted the week prior. And still, he lost by 17 points. Which I mean, I kind of like you said, it should have been obvious to most people, but there's this really large movement that they want to stop Trump, and they say it's because he's like a bombastic person, but you know that they agree with him on social issues. Like we all know that they agree with him on social issues. He just doesn't dog whistle. He just comes out and says it. So what is it that they really dislike about Donald Trump? And I think that has a lot to do with his trade, his policies on trade, which is the reason why they want to stop Trump. But obviously, they can't do that now because he's the only guy left in the race.
Yeah. I think the established kind of views on like trade and the economy among the Republican establishment is neoliberalism, and Trump is a big threat to that. And so even people like Cruz, who like falsely masquerades himself as this like champion of the people, when his policies would rape the working class, but he even gets with all the Republican establishment against Trump. Like you said, he's spent all this money trying to beat him in Indiana, and yeah, that definitely that's the real threat.
Yeah. And I mean, if you even looked last night, one of the major fundraisers for John McCain in the 2008 election endorsed Hillary Clinton. So, I mean, that shows a lot about Hillary Clinton's positions and who she truly is
Yeah.
as well.
Um. uh, um. Let's say. Yeah, I kind of like. I guess a lot of them were thinking that there might be a contested convention too, but you
Yeah.
guys don't think that's going to happen, right?
On the Democratic side?
No, on the Republican.
Oh no, obviously not now because Donald Trump is going to secure the 1,237 delegates. He
Oh,
needs
well,
to win
yeah,
the
true.
nomination.
They both dropped out, yeah, and
Yeah.
the party named him the presumptive nominee anyway. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see if the party gets unified or if it's going to be split going into November. I think that's the most interesting thing about this whole
hmm
fiasco. If there
yeah,
really is going to be like a split between, uh, I guess, Trump. I don't even know what to call Trump as far as his ideology is concerned. I think Jacksonian is the most accurate. But
yeah. I think Jacksonian is like,
what would you call
yeah,
his supporters?
he's like a protectionist who's like like isolationist on foreign policy, so he's like completely against the Republican Party who just wants to bomb whatever country has brown people in it. And on trade, he's kind of left wing, and then social policies, immigration, completely far right. So it's kind of like a mishmash of a bunch of different things.
Yeah, and I mean, I think with the death of Ted Cruz's campaign, I think that also the kind of like evangelical fundamentalist wing of the Republican Party is dying out.
Oh yeah.
And there's really going to be the split between the kind of mainstream establishment, hawkish, pro free trade, pro Wall Street wing of the party, and then this
Right.
new Trumpian brand of republicanism, whatever the hell that is.
And
So it'll be interesting to see if they like unify or if it's going to be split going into the general election.
do you think that, okay, let's say on the Republican side, if like these Trump like people, whatever ideology you would call them, I have no idea. Let's say they split from the Republican Party, who's like pro Wall Street, pro neoliberalism, pro establishment, and then on the Democrats, the progressive wing also split from the the mainstream pro neoliberalism, pro Wall Street, pro establishment side of the Democratic Party. That the like pro establishment Democrats and Republicans might actually unify.
That'll be interesting. I don't think that that's going to happen on the Democratic side because I think Hillary Clinton, if she's smart, she's going to pick a progressive as her vice presidential nominee, and then the party will unify. But I mean, if she didn't, if she like went the route of picking somebody like a Cory Booker, for example, as her vice president, then maybe that would happen.
Yeah.
I mean, if that did happen, that would be really dumb.
That
The outsiders would win.
yeah.
I think something that has always kind of frustrated with you with politics that could be addressed at this moment in history is the whole two-party thing. Like, this is like the perfect opportunity to really get, like, I saw Matt did a video recently and it frustrated me because he's like, oh, we gotta, it sucks, but we gotta work within the system and help the Democrats and reform the Democrats. And I'm just like, no, why don't you just all bloody vote for the Greens? You like them more. Like, that's what you do in any other democratic country is, oh, the mainstream Liberal Party's not doing too well for us. We're just going to throw all of our support into the alternate left-wing party, teach them a lesson, so next election they come back better at it. Like, I think that's, like, I know everyone's so afraid of Trump, but I'm of the opinion that I don't know Trump it depends. I guess it all gets back down to how damaging do you think 4 years of Trump is, and I don't know. The Democrats tend to fight harder when they own the House, when they don't have the presidency. Like, I actually think you get a more left-wing Democratic Party anyways, so I don't know. Like, I feel you could just obstruct Trump enough that he's not as damaging, and the Democrats would understand that they're not going to just get voters out of fear of the Republicans all the time. That's what I'm thinking.
I think that the whole thing, the reason why people rely so much on the two-party system is because it's completely different from any other standard political system across the Western world. Because so much money is in politics, and plus the two parties really collide with each other to make sure that they're the only alternatives. After Ross Perot did so well in 1992, they came together to pretty much stop third-party alternatives, which is why we haven't seen anybody else do that since.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's why you have people like Donald Trump and Ron Paul joining the Republican Party, or Bernie Sanders joining the Democratic Party. And this is the first time it's ever been really successful to have these kind of outsiders take over the party, even though Bernie Sanders wasn't successful at all. But
yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, he wasn't successful, but I think in a certain way he was, for changing the conversation that people are having, not just on the left, but everywhere. So it was definitely smart of him to go to campaign in the Democratic Party, because had he not done that, I don't think as many people would be I don't think they would really know what to be pissed off at. Now he's gotten people to be pissed off at campaign finance and stuff like that, and I don't know if he could have done that if he ran as an independent.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with that. I'm just saying, in his wake, I think there's a real opportunity
Oh
to.
yeah.
Yeah, do you think that the entire election cycle is going to be turned on its head? Like, do you think that they're going to get rid of superdelegates and all that shit? Like,
Oh, I
the
doubt
next
it.
election?
For the Democrats, this was a perfect display of why you have the superdelegates. It's to make sure that Sanders and people like him can't win. That's the.
Yeah.
I think it's going to have the exact opposite effect. I
Yeah,
think
but
this
there's
is
so much
driving home the
anger,
point.
though. There's so much anger in the Democratic base.
Yeah, but
because
the
of
thing
it.
is, if they can weather that anger, which I think they can. I think the amount of people who actually care about this is so small.
Really?
I
I
think,
don't know.
yeah, I honestly like.
I've seen so many people say that they're just not going to vote.
Yeah,
in
I see.
November.
I
Like,
see.
they're just going to
Yeah,
stay
but they
home.
don't. But
We're
they,
just pissed off. People who aren't even right wing who are saying, "Yeah, I'm going to vote for Trump because I hate the system."
I think so. Yeah, it depends. I think it revolves around that. If Trump wins, then yeah, they'll probably say, okay, this was problematic. But
Yeah.
if Hillary wins, I think this is they proved that at the end of the day, people who said we hate Hillary will, for the most part, they're going to vote for her anyway. This is why I think it's going to happen. They're going to vote for Hillary anyways because they're like, but the Republicans are so much worse. I don't care who the Democrat is. And then
But that only solves it for like one election cycle, because I think if they do that, then there's going to be another insurgent candidate in 2020. Like maybe Elizabeth Warren will do it next time. Maybe she has a better chance of winning.
I don't think Warren comes off as an insurgent candidate, though.
Well,
And I think
as far as policy-wise, compared to the standard
she's
establishment
she's still a party person, though, right? She might be on the left of the party, but I think the party's view of her is she's a member of the party, which is completely a different topic.
She refused to even endorse Sanders. I don't think she would.
Yeah.
I don't know how much she likes the Democratic establishment, but I don't think she would go against them like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe not her specifically, but I'm saying it sets
else.
the groundwork for another person to do it again in 2020, and maybe next time they'll be even more successful if
Yeah, I
Hillary
agree-
Clinton's
I agree
presidency
with
is a
that.
failure.
Yeah, if Trump wins, it'll be a real reality check for them that they have to pivot to the left on a lot of issues. They have to change the whole thing. They have to change the election rules and get rid of superdelegates. But even if he doesn't win, yeah, I agree. They still need to do something because I don't think this anger's gonna just die, just fade
You
quickly.
can't just reject the base like that. I mean, I understand that it's not a direct democracy. I understand that it's a representative-based democracy, and that you use these delegates in an electoral college and whatnot in order to win elections. But still, the base of the people who's voting, they're the ones who vote for the delegates, you know?
Yeah.
So you can't just keep rejecting what they actually want in favor of your,
But
liberal
I think
bullshit.
the Democrats are going to read this as a fad. I think they're going to read it that way. That this was just a thing. And
if
at
they
the end of the
do,
day, people will do what people have done for over a century, which is they'll just vote for us because the alternative is worse. And then if people don't come out and vote, well, there's also a lot of Republicans who won't come out and vote, so we don't care. And then we'll win.
The thing about Donald Trump is that not only does he bring out a lot of Republicans, because if you looked at the primaries, it's the highest ever for a
Yeah.
turnout. But he also
That's what I'm
brings in a
saying.
lot of blue collar white Democrats.
Yeah, as I said, if he wins, then yes, I agree with you guys. Then they're going to say, oh, wow, yeah, lesson learned. But if Hillary wins, I don't think that message will be. I think it'll be completely different. Like this, we're talking about two dramatically different scenarios.
Right. Well, I mean, it might not be. The message might not get to them because in the past it kind of hasn't. With Wall Street, they really didn't do much after the crash. But the message should get to them because I think eventually it's gonna come to bite them in the ass in some way, even if it's not with Trump.
Mm-hmm. But the thing is, I think if they lose the election to a moderate Republican, they'll just say, well, tides of history, you can't win, 4 or 5 elections in a row. But so I think that's what it gets back to. I'm saying you're at a unique point in history where you can decide to teach them that lesson or not.
I think
you have
politics
to.
as we knew them is completely over. Like I don't think this is a fad at all. I think this is the way it's going to continue to go for the next
Yeah.
few election cycles.
It's
Well, I don't know if this is politics as we knew it over. What we're betting on is a return to the pre-'70s Democrats, effectively. Not even a pre-'70s left, not necessarily pre-'70s Democrats. I think you're betting on a pre-'70s left.
But also a pre-Reagan Republican Party.
yeah, like the entire establishment has to pivot to the left. It's not just the Democrats. Like the right, the people who are voting for Trump are not like free marketer Ronald Reagan type of people.
They're protectionists.
Yeah, they're
wanna-
like economic
Populism.
nationalists.
So you're asking more for a pivot to populism than the left.
Well, it is somewhat a pivot to the left, at least on just like economic issues. But
Maybe.
I just think that's how
People are
it's.
pissed off of globalism. That's just where it stands.
Yeah.
Well, it actually gets a bit to what the foreign policy article I was talking about a bit. If you wanted me to bring that up, it's just because we seem to be going there.
Uh-huh.
They were talking about how basically what Mahmoud was saying is the end of it's literally called the end of politics as we know it. But I think it gets to something that's kind of important here because we keep referring to things on left and right, and the article's kind of arguing that to use the terms left and right is irrelevant in this conversation because this is sort of the end of that political divide. It's sort of an irrelevant. We're not divided on what's left and the right in the traditional sense anymore, or at least that's where the popular political movements seem to be headed.
Well, yeah, the meanings of left and right have always been kind of a little ambiguous, I guess. Like there are certain I'm trying to think of something. I don't know. I can't think of something right now. But if I think of something later, I'll mention it.
And the article makes an interesting point.
We could try to put it on the scale of globalism versus fair trade and protectionism.
Yeah.
Because those are the two insurgent candidates. Those are their main messages, and that's what the base stands for. If you look at Occupy Wall Street and whatnot.
Yeah.
Even though that was a massive failure, a couple of years later, now you have Bernie Sanders doing so well with his base.
Yeah. So. And the article also makes a good point that Sanders and Trump-like candidates are not unique to the United States. Very much in Britain, that's going to be a big thing going into their next election. It's not talked about a lot because the current government has a majority, but that's a big thing. Is there is the left, of course, has a very left-wing guy in Corbyn, but on the right, you're seeing the UKIP really getting some legs over this Brexit issue, and if they can win on this Brexit issue, actually beat the main right-wing party and win on that, because Cameron's kind of betting on the EU winning, then you'd see that could give them a lot of legs. In Hungary, of course, we've known for a bit now, you've seen a far right-wing party. In Austria, their far right-wing party just won.
If Trump wins the election, I think you're going to see all of these other ultra-nationalistic far-right parties win in these European countries. And I think you might actually see the dissolution of the European Union if that happens.
Yeah. Poland too, a couple months ago, elected the far-right party. It's spreading all across Eastern Europe.
And even the
West. Never
West.
expected that to come to America, though.
Yeah, even the West. The National Front, I think it's called in France, their far right-wing party, I think is the third most popular now.
Yeah.
The anti-austerity right, the anti-European Union right was always a thing in Europe, but we never thought that would come to fruition in the U.S.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Our right has always been kind of a classical liberal right, but I think that's changing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it existed in Quebec for some time now, so I guess. One sec.
Mm-hmm.
So, Who do you think is going to be the vice presidential uh, picks for Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump? So I think most cycles, a lot of people just say, "Oh, that's not really important," or not. You just pick somebody from a battleground state to help you out a little bit. But this cycle, I think it's going to matter a lot because these two candidates have such high unfavorables.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, um, for Trump, obviously, put having a more moderate Republican vice president would be VP choice would be good for him, and
Yeah,
then for Hillary, a more progressive left wing VP pick would be good for her. But honestly, I have no idea who they're going to pick because Trump's just kind of crazy. He could pick anyone. I mean,
yeah. But I
he's
mean, he
smart.
does have some like political insiders in his campaign that are going to be like, "Whoa, dude, chill out. Don't
Yeah,
pick fucking Ben Carson as your as your vice president."
yeah, true. Like yeah, I don't know how crazy he would be on that. He probably might listen to his insiders. But for Clinton, like she doesn't really know how to campaign well, and I don't think her campaign is really good at campaigning either, because I don't think she's someone like Trump who would override good advice if she got it. If like I think the advice she's getting from her
It's bad.
campaign is just like really bad, and she's just a really bad campaigner.
I also think that she just doesn't give a fuck about the electorate. Like I think she just doesn't care about the voters. I think she just like I think she might end up picking somebody like Cory Booker, somebody who's just like a mainline pro Wall Street Democrat because she doesn't give a fuck. Like I don't think
Yeah,
she's gonna wind up picking somebody like I guess Elizabeth Warren or what's the name of the senator from Ohio, Sharon Brown. I don't think she's gonna end up picking any of those people because she just like
yeah,
she's pompous. I think she thinks that like Christian was saying, they're giving them the alternative. Either you have shitty me, or you have even worse Donald Trump. So you're gonna pick me, regardless. And I think that's gonna like come back to bite her.
yeah. I think I agree with what Christian says. Like I said, I think like the mainstream Democrats like Clinton just think this is a fad. Like when
Yeah,
push comes to shove, general election, they're gonna have to side with Clinton because Trump is fucking nuts. But yeah, she seems to live in that kind of bubble, which I don't think that's really true. I think this election people are more polarizing a lot. So she also like she keeps flip flopping and like becoming more right wing. Like the
yeah,
Cole thing. You sent me how she like was she was speaking out against Cole like a month ago, and now she's endorsing like revitalizing the coal
yeah.
industry. So yeah, she seems to not really be getting the hint that to be more progressive.
She thinks that it was just a primary issue, that she had to pretend to be a progressive during the primary, but the simple fact is that the entire like electorate is leaning that way. Like people want they want their jobs protected. They want higher wages. They want health care. They want education. They don't want you to like go back to 2000 Hillary Clinton, who was campaigning for the Senate.
Yeah,
That doesn't make any sense.
she she doesn't seem to understand that it's not the 1990s anymore. I think right now we're in what's called a realignment period. Um, the parties are the electorate's changing. The agenda is at least among the electorate is changing, and I don't yeah like we said the establishment just doesn't seem to be getting it.
Well, I think a big part of it is that we're not the baby boomers. We're not as big a part of the population at this time in our lives as previous generations were. So I think for the large part, we're sitting here trying to expect a result when really it's still the people who are in their 60s
Yeah,
kind of driving the narrative regardless.
Yeah.
And I think maybe you give that another election cycle, another presidential cycle, then yeah, you will see a. I think everything changes. But even then, you know, you go online, you can quit. You can easily see there's a to use the traditional terms again. There is a right in our age group that is forming. It's not the Caden Cowger, Jason Velli right, but there's a different new kind of right there that's just I think is going to be just as formidable as the current right was for the people before us. So,
what kind of right?
Yeah, what kind of right?
Yeah,
Donald Trump right?
I think Donald Trump's not a movement. Donald Trump's just a general kind of anger without direction for people who are usually on the right. Like that's what it is. It's the same thing that's fueling Bernie Sanders, but it doesn't have the educated or, you know, sort of fact-based backing to direct that anger at anything constructive, right? So no, I'm referring. You guys saw that video of the girl who's complaining about our generation and how that was popular and was sort of weird.
Yeah.
See that? Yeah, I'm sort of referring to that, and I'm saying I've seen that for a while, and I've seen it since her video, and as I said, I've seen it before her video, and I think that's really, you know, to change the topic a bit. I feel like that's where the right's going in a sense.
But I also do see a lot of younger people. Like, I guess these people are, you know, maybe a little too young. But I do see a lot of them embodying what Donald Trump represents. You know, like an ultra-nationalistic, you know, jingoistic, protectionist, kind of like anti-social justice warrior kind of thing going on.
Yeah, I think they're all the same thing. I think they're all coming from the same. Maybe they don't always share the same ultra-nationalistic view, but I think they definitely have enough in common outside of that I think they're the same movement largely. The whole anti-social justice deal.
Yeah.
This sort of counter, which I find incredibly silly, but
Yeah,
I guess that's how you end
so
up with people
goofy,
freaking out about IKEA having an interracial couple in an ad.
Yeah, like it seems so ridiculous and so goofy, but it also seems to be formidable in the fact that the current GOP nominee is Donald Trump. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, like a lot of the anger that's fueling the Trump campaign is just kind of unfocused. Now, I do agree with that. Like, I don't think a lot of these people have a consistent kind of like ideology, but like there is.
They don't have those core values as Ted Cruz would say.
Yeah. But there is like kind of a like group that he's especially appealing to, themes which are like people who used to work in this country, people who used to work in factories and have been laid off since the free trade has started, and I think with them at least there is this kind of like protectionist right that's emerging. Maybe they're unfocused on a lot of other things, but on trade, that like they're a protectionist, and that's why they're supporting Trump.
Okay, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but how do you think an actual Trump presidency would play out as far as like the whole economic thing is concerned? Because, you know, the global economics, you know, the geopolitics are so intertwined with free trade and.
I think Trump will immediately, once he's in power, he'll be what he has been his whole life, which is a free trade guy. He'll
be a one-term president.
Oh yeah, I think he'll definitely be a one-term president. I'm just saying.
I think that would make those people even angrier.
Yeah.
And then I think another person will like.
Those people just need Trump to say that he's. They just need him to say it. They aren't paying attention enough to know. To check in, you know.
I think they would know if he isn't like putting a 45% tariff on China and Mexico and starting trade wars with Japan and stuff like that. I think they would notice, you know.
No, because I think the thing is, those people they're going to do what they did with Bush, which is they're going to protect him no matter what, because he's because he's El Presidente, right? Like that's what they're gonna do. They don't actually. I don't think that once their guy's in, they're just gonna protect their guy and they're gonna say
I
anything
don't know,
that's
man.
anything that's
I really don't think that those people are that dumb. Like I think even though they are Republican voters, I think you have to give them a little bit more credit than that.
Yeah, I don't think they're the same people who were like, Bush supporters too. Like a lot of them, they're gonna notice if they're not getting their jobs back.
Well,
Yeah.
here's the comparison, though. Really, as smart as everyone is on the left, Barack Obama did a lot of things that would have been deal breakers to us during the whole primary process. But still, he's incredibly popular, and a lot of us, including myself, would probably protect him pretty vehemently. I don't think Republicans are that different.
I don't know. I think there's like a really large, what used to be called the post-democratic left. The people that were out doing Occupy Wall Street and stuff. And I know a lot of like establishment people would say those people are unreliable when it comes to getting people elected. But Bernie Sanders kind of disproved that. Even though he wasn't successful, you do have this really large grassroots movement that.
Yeah.
I just can't see that happening, to be honest. I do think they would turn on Donald Trump if he did something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I think he'd be a one-term president, but I think he'd still, he'd maintain some support throughout that. But anyways, I guess it's irrelevant if he's a one-term president.
Yeah.
What if he actually does do the stuff that he says he wants to do?
Pardon?
What if he actually does, put the tariffs on China and Japan and Germany and Mexico, and he does punish companies that try to move, that try to outsource and stuff like that, and he does start trade wars and all this shit?
I'll bet the assassination card for 300.
That could be possible, honestly.
Well, I mean, I thought that he would get assassinated before now, to be honest. But.
So did I. I thought Bernie Sanders, if he was looking like he was going to be the nominee, maybe not assassinated, but something really bad could have happened to him.
There was a guy in Ohio that tried to rush Trump on a stage.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be the U.S. that does it. I don't know. I'm pretty sure China would even be willing to do it at that point.
Yeah, I don't think China would really care about the repercussions.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that the BRICS nations are really that powerful right now? Because I hear a lot of people talking about, the BRICS nations and what a powerful economic power that's becoming. Brazil, Russia,
China, South Africa.
India, South Africa, China, South Africa.
I mean, it seems like they're gaining more power. I don't know. Brazil's a mess, though.
China's economy has been stuttering.
I mean, I don't know about South Africa, but
South Africa's economy.
Hold on, I gotta take a call. I'll be right back.
Yeah, no. China's economy has been slowing, and their economic minister even came out recently and said, yeah, our GDP numbers are pretty much bullshit. I don't know what they mean.
I mean, China really messed up with the whole development, building these super cities and all this stuff, and all these buildings that they have where no one's living in, and they just have this giant housing bubble that's going to collapse any moment.
Yeah, so I don't know how powerful they really are. And then Brazil's a shit show because Brazil was tied to China so much.
What about India, though?
I haven't heard anything horrible about India, so I guess India's, if I'm not hearing anything too bad, they have sort of their version of Reagan in power right now, though, and that didn't go well for the U.S., so I don't know how well that'll go for India in the long run. And then you're left with Russia, and they still are dealing with those sanctions. It's not like those have gone away, so they're hurting. So I don't think anyone's doing terribly well right now. If you look at global politics like a game of Risk, I wouldn't say anyone's winning the game right now. Yeah,
but I've heard all these different alternative sources saying that these people are going that the BRICS nations are going to be some sort of competitor to the West in terms of geopolitics. But I don't know. China's
definitely becoming more significant on the geopolitical scale, but I don't think Brazil or South Africa have any ambitions towards that. I don't think Russia has any real power outside of having the military. And as they say, the last thing to go on an old boxer is his punch. And I think Russia's like that. Yeah, I don't know. That's how I see it, at least. But then again, I live in a Western country, so I'm probably ending up with a very Western skewed perspective.
Yeah.
But if the Chinese economic minister says these economic numbers should be taken with a grain of salt, I get the feeling no one really knows what's going on in China. Like, they don't have the centralization to actually honestly tell
China
you.
tried the whole capitalism thing, and it's starting to look like they're failing at it.
Well, I think the problem is it's too corrupt, and they don't have enough of a proper legal system to manage it. So it just becomes too corrupt and unstable. I think that's their problem.
But even with the giant housing bubble that they're having, as far as like development is concerned, I don't understand where they thought that would be a good idea to make these mega cities where most people in China still live in the countryside.
Yeah, so I think their hope was that people would not be in the countryside after a while, and I guess it just didn't come together as quickly as they'd hoped. Or maybe they moved faster than they could, but I think that was their hope, was that it would be a problem that would resolve itself over time.
Yeah, I don't know. But, I don't know, Donald Trump is president. Seems so absurd to even say. But it seems like it's a good possibility if he puts the certain states into play, like Ohio and Pennsylvania, and if he can win Florida, that should get him 270 electorates.
Yeah,
Electoral
he just has to get enough independents and enough Democrats, not to vote for him, but just to be dissatisfied enough with Clinton to say that we don't actually care really enough to go away.
You get like the so-called Reagan Democrats on his side.
Yeah.
They're like blue-collar Democrats, the mine workers, all those kind of people.
Well, I think that'll actually be harder, because I think Clinton's right-wing enough to capture their attention.
But she also did say that she wants to put the coal business out of like the coal. She said she wanted to like get rid of coal with an alternative power.
Yeah, but I think the important thing I think with Clinton is that what she says is irrelevant. You're like she's changed her position so many times. I would just look at what she's actually done, and what she's done is, I think, will attract a lot of right-wing donors. And that's all that matters. At the end of the day, I think
she actually is taking a lot of like Republican donors. Also, even one of the Koch brothers said that he might support Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly it. I think her way to win is to completely ignore that progressive base, because at least 75, maybe 50% of that base is going to vote for her anyways, and the other half would never vote for Trump, so she doesn't have to worry about that. I think her path to victory is just to keep courting those Republican donors to get her the kind of ad revenue she needs in the swing states, and then she's got it. Because I think
and with Trump still like self-funding his campaign, how is he going to get enough money to hold up with Hillary Clinton in those swing states?
He's not really self-funding his campaign.
Well,
he's playing some tricky Pizzicky financial stuff to pretend he is. Really, he's not.
Well, he doesn't have any super PACs.
No, but he's effectively taking out loans for himself, and then basically telling donors to pay back the loan when I'm done.
He's going to be in a lot of debt.
Yeah, true, but if that works, if those donors do pay him back, then he's not in a lot of debt. And if he wins, he's not in a lot of debt.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of a long shot, because he's still not raising that much money. Because if you look at Indiana, for example, he only spent $900,000 in
well, yeah, but his key thing is that he gets so much TV time that he's doing a lot. He's like gets more TV time than most of the people spending more money than him, right?
Yeah.
So,
we talking about Trump getting media attention?
Yeah.
Yeah, Because we're saying that how is he gonna like if he is, self-funding his campaign, which Christian says he isn't, how is he gonna contend with Hillary Clinton in the swing states when she's gonna have freaking billions of dollars of campaign ad revenue coming in?
That's true.
But I mean, apparently, if he does get as much TV time as he got in the Republican primary, he probably can keep up with it. But I don't know if he is going to get that much attention
Well,
because
once you're in the
election.
presidential, I think once you're in the presidential race, you definitely will.
Yeah. And
But I mean, Hillary Clinton's going to be getting a lot also.
CNN,
It's not like so one-sided as it would be in a primary.
going to be really one-sided against Hillary, but like they've showed Trump so much, I just don't feel like he's going to die out from the public's mind. And
Yeah, no, but I mean, there's going to be so many negative ads though, in comparison, like between Trump and Clinton. Like there are going to be like 5 negative ads in a row against Trump, and then like 1 for Clinton.
yeah, well, hey, maybe the FBI will do something about the emails during the general election. So
Yeah, I heard that as a conspiracy theory. I also heard that that the judge in the case against Trump University might do something as soon as he gets the nomination.
yeah, that would really hurt him. Like,
What if both of those things happen?
Wouldn't it be fascinating if both of those things happened?
yeah,
That'd be amazing.
I wonder which one would hurt. Like, which one would affect it more?
I think Hillary Clinton somehow being convicted by the FBI would hurt a lot more.
Than Trump being sued, yeah.
Yeah, because like you would expect that from Trump, but Hillary is like supposed to be a public servant.
Mm-hmm.
That's just really bad. Like what she did.
What if Trump actually like shoot somebody? Do you think he would still retain the support? You remember when he said that he could shoot someone and still like have support?
Oh yeah.
What if he wants to test it and just shoot someone?
See, told you I was right. Bang.
I feel like his.
But, I mean, so many things have happened that I mean you would think would destroy his campaign, like his campaign advisor abusing that one reporter that tried to get to him.
That whole thing, yeah. And
That did nothing.
The Muslims thing, you would have thought that would have done something, but like just made him more popular.
Making fun of a disabled reporter, or like
but
calling John McCain a loser because he's a war POW.
Yeah, I think that all gets back though to what we're saying about that there's a right that just
supports Trump.
Well, that and as I was saying, there's a right that's just so anti-PC that they'll just like anything you say that is asshattish is good to them.
Yeah.
Like they're to the point that they're just like, no, we're just against human decency as a concept. We find it.
I think there's a lot of people who are so angry that they just think like they don't necessarily agree with what he's saying, but they agree with how he says it, how he's so confrontational that they're like, yeah, I love that. I'll just support him.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a really ugly general election, especially during the debates, because like as soon as Hillary Clinton says that Donald Trump is a sexist, he's going to say that Bill Clinton was a rapist.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like this will honestly be the biggest shit show I have ever seen. It will be so entertaining to watch.
It will be great.
How does anyone take America seriously anymore?
No one takes America seriously. The only reason anyone takes America seriously is the same reason anyone takes Russia seriously. It's just because you guys have nukes. No one outside of that, no one cares. You guys it's just crazy. I don't even know.
Imagine President Trump coming to visit, like, Canada to go hang out with Justin Trudeau.
Yeah. Like, they're like...
Well, you guys didn't see the video where Trudeau attacked Trump for 6 minutes?
There's so many different foreign leaders attacking Trump. Even David Cameron said that he's an idiot. But, I mean, if he becomes president, what are they going to do?
Yeah, what is going to happen with foreign leaders? Like, how... Do you think he'll tone it down, or he's just going to...
What if America gets sanctioned?
Oh, my God.
Can you imagine
I don't know.
I don't even know. But yeah, like literally, we thought people didn't respect you when Bush was in power.
Well, I mean, Dick Cheney was really the president.
True,
Yeah.
but
You don't
Bush
know.
was still the face of it all. But that's true. But
Yeah.
like, it's funny because Obama did so much to repair that image, and Republicans are like, no, he's weakened our foreign policy. No one
Yeah,
respects
right,
us. It's
like-
Yeah.
no.
It's the exact opposite.
Yeah, like the American Empire, which is what I'll call it, because we're an empire, has like it's been declining since Bush came into office. Like before that, it was fine. Like the 1990s, we were like the unequivocal power, but 9/11 and like the Iraq War and I don't know.
Especially the Iraq War.
Yeah, that all changed that. And to be honest, I don't think we're ever going to be like a superpower again. I think that time's up.
You have to make America great again.
Yeah, and I think Trump will like make our power even worse.
Well, here's the question, though. I think you have to wonder then is, are you in the 1600s or are you not? Because if you're in the 1600s, then it isn't that you guys are declining. It's just that everyone's struggling, and then when it's over, you're still going to be on top. It's just that everyone's struggle bust at the same time, as opposed to like the early 1900s when it was like clear that Britain was declining and Germany and the U.S. were on the rise. I think you're more in the 1600s because I don't know if you were there, but we were talking about how China, Brazil, Russia, and those kind of countries are doing. No one's actually doing well. Everyone's kind of having a crappy time right now. I don't think so. I don't think it's really the time of U.S. decline, just because the U.S. you might be hurting, but relative to everyone else, you're actually where you were in the 90s, and I don't know if I don't know if that's a
But I
problem.
think the dynamic of a Donald Trump presidency might change all of that.
Oh, that's true. That's totally true. If Trump's president, then it's sort of like when the Spanish started to have kings that weren't entirely mentally there, and then the whole thing just fell apart. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't you guys wish you didn't put term limits on your presidents?
Oh man.
Well, I
Could've-
mean, what if we did that once Trump became president and like all the supporters just like flooded the
Trump-
ballot box?
Trump would not beat Obama, though. You have to be honest.
Yeah,
No, he
no.
wouldn't.
That's
And I
not
think Obama is actually going to be like that might win Clinton the presidency when he starts to like campaign for it and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he might bring back some of those like disenfranchised workers because they seem to like him for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I don't know
he's
why, but they seem to like him.
He's really popular.
hmm
with
Yeah,
the
I don't understand
Democrats.
why he is, but you know.
Yeah, I don't understand why either, but he is.
He's as I can't remember who. I think it was actually Bernie Sanders who said this. I think he's popular because he's as far left as you can go within the system, and he's popular for that
Really?
reason. He hints at something. He gives you the feeling that there's beneath all the public veneer, there's a better person than what the face he's putting on. Especially in this last.
Yeah, but that
this
doesn't
last-
give people their jobs back though.
But I think the U.S. the job numbers certainly are actually okay right now. I think the problem more so for Obama is that they're not good jobs. But then I think that gets back to what I'm saying. He's as far left as you can get, and that's what you end up with is you get your jobs back. They're just not good jobs because you need a very dramatic change to get good jobs back. You need to completely relook at the equation. But he's as far left as
Yeah.
you can tilt the scales without ripping
It's
the
like
scales.
unemployment is below 5%, but service work is at an all-time high, which means like you have people who went to college working at McDonald's and shit.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying is he's tilting the scales as far to the left as you can, but you guys want someone who just completely puts in a new system. And I think that's why he's popular. Is he's as far left as you can get without putting in a new system, and I think most people are content with that. Even if it doesn't get them their jobs, they're happy with that.
Yeah.
How do you think the the map is going to play out during a general election? Do you think Trump can win Pennsylvania or even Michigan? Do you think he can win Ohio? Do you think Clinton could possibly win Utah, Georgia? Like, I hear people, like Chris said yesterday, that polls have Clinton up in Utah. I think she's up in Utah, Mississippi, and Arizona right now, which is crazy.
That's crazy. Huh.
It's to put it in perspective for you guys, though, when we speculate about this, a Canadian election cycle is 1 month. If you want me to explain how dramatically things shifted in 1 month in the Canadian election cycle last year? Literally at the start, the NDP were on the road to a majority government. The NDP came third by a long shot when the election finally came. The Liberals were set to come third. They won a majority. The Conservatives, who at 2 weeks before the election were set to win, lost the Liberal majority. I think we're all looking at this way too far. Like, to make any accurate prediction right now would be ridiculous. I would literally have to call you a psychic or some sort of witch or wizard if you actually accurately predicted things right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that could change, especially with this election cycle too.
Excuse me.
Like, it'll be fascinating. I think you'll get a feeling for it once you start actually getting some debates in the book. But all I can predict, and I can predict this with complete certainty, is this will be an incredibly entertaining shit show. A dumpster fire, as Ryan Wiley would put it. Yeah.
Do you think Bernie Sanders is going to endorse Hillary Clinton?
I don't know. I don't know. It'll be.
I kind of think he will, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I think there's either two possibilities: either he endorses her, or he like spearheads some kind of like rebellion in the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
It's going to be split, and they're going to lose the general election because of it.
He doesn't seem.
Which is probably a good thing because Hillary Clinton is awful. But,
I would say it's a good thing, but he doesn't
I feel
come
like
off that way.
I feel like a lot of his supporters want to do that, but I don't think he does.
Because I think he knows that he never. I don't know if he ever even thought he'd win. I feel like he just felt, I'll go run for president. I'll do okay. I'll give voice to my issues, and then when push comes to shove, I'll use my support to get the Democrat elected, and then I'll have some real power in the Senate to get what I want done. And I think he's saying this has actually gone better than I hoped, but now I'm going to go to the Senate now. I came second. I have a real political machine. I can seriously get what I want done in the Senate, and if I give Clinton my support, that'll help her. She'll like me. She'll be more willing to hear me out.
There's a possibility that a lot of the current Senate seats that are up for grabs, a lot of those Republicans that hold those seats do not endorse Donald Trump because they think that he might lose and may lose them their race also because they endorse him. So there's a good chance that the Democrats come out with the Senate as well. It'd be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I don't know. I think a lot of sitting senators are not going to endorse Donald Trump because they think that's just like not good for them.
Yeah, I think it'll be good for the Republican Party if Clinton wins. If Trump wins, there's no doubt it's going to be a divided government. Right now they control the House and the Senate, but yeah, I think that would definitely change.
I think the Democrats will probably win both the House and the Senate if Trump is the winner of the presidency.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, he would get none of the shit that he claims to do done. But I think that would be a bad thing, though, also, because, they'll keep blocking all of his policies and stuff, and then
his
base will even grow more, saying, oh, they're not treating Trump fair, they're not letting him build the wall.
Yeah. I feel like
get reelected for a second time.
I feel ideally that's actually the best scenario because you control Trump, you contain him, but at the same time the Democrats have learned, oh my God, we lost the presidential race to Trump. We seriously have to go with a more left. We got to go with like an Elizabeth Warren type next time, or else it's going to be worse if a reasonable Republican wins. And then you'll
but don't you think that would like even damage like their image and make the Trumpians grow even more, like, and say that they're not treating Trump fair, so now we support Trump?
I don't know if that's happened with Obama though. I don't feel it would happen with Trump either. I think Trump has a cap. I am of that opinion that Trump has a cap of maybe 35, maybe 40%. That's his real.
Why do you think that his percentages have gone up so high? Do you think that's just like a bandwagon effect of people saying, Cruz might win, so we have to support Trump?
I think it's the same thing that's happened with the Democrats. It's that there's just real anger, and you just don't have any other option but to just sort of say, the mainstream guy doesn't deserve my vote. I also think, really, in my opinion, if I'm a Republican, I'd also choose Trump over Cruz. He scares me a lot less than Cruz does.
Yeah.
Maybe not Kasich. I'd probably vote for Kasich, but if given the choice of Cruz or Trump, I'd probably go for Trump. He scares me a lot less than
Cruz. I think Cruz is a con man, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I just get a total Nixon vibe from Ted Cruz.
I get a total, like, he has some ulterior motive vibe.
Like, you know, the only reason why he shut down the government was for this presidential bid, knowing that people were tired with the, like, establishment not repealing Obamacare and whatnot, knowing that he'll be the only, like, quote-unquote outsider in the race of people like Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio, thinking that, oh, they're going to come behind me and I'm going to win a nomination. And, you know, but then he didn't account for Donald Trump.
So. Yeah.
I think he's just... Yeah, I think the reason he scares me is if, you know, you do take him at what he's saying, because I honestly think he really believes the religious stuff, and that worries me a lot more.
Maybe he does. I'm not really sure about it.
Just the way he talks and, like, the stuff he does, it strikes me as he honestly believes it. Maybe there's a Nixonian
element. He comes off as such a slimy person to me. Like, he's just
he comes off as both, but I feel like the religious stuff is the only thing that's real.
I don't know.
I don't think he comes off as somebody like a Mike Huckabee, who's, like, really a fundamentalist, you know?
You
can really tell, believe that stuff.
I would be less scared of Mike Huckabee than Ted Cruz, though.
I don't Ben Carson.
It's just Ted Cruz's religious views. It's also, like, his, like the shit he says in foreign policy, like, I'm gonna bomb the Middle East till the sand glows.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's serious about that.
There's a crusadery kind of feeling vibe to him.
Why does he pretend to be like a libertarian, but then also a war hawk? I don't really understand.
As progressive and libertarian, like libertarian means the same thing as progressive does to Democrats, right?
Basically, kind of, yeah. It's like, it's the, like a very, like the popular, I guess, viewpoint, but it's not really accepted by the establishment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's the same thing. I think if the Republicans found it within themselves to honestly throw their support behind a Ron Paul type, they actually probably could have won. I think they honestly would have an honest chance against Clinton if they'd gone behind someone like that, because I think there's enough progressives who'd say, well, you know what, you guys actually, I might disagree with you on, like, healthcare, but there's some, like, really fundamental core issues you guys are right on.
Ron Paul would be so awful, though. Do you know what Ron Paul's opinion is on, like, job hiring and stuff like that? He thinks that the corporations have a right to not hire you if you're, like, black or whatnot.
Well, that's a really libertarian thing, but I'm just saying, I think there's enough Democrats who would Democrats who'd say, you know what, you might be horribly wrong on some things, and I might disagree with you, but I think you're right on enough of the important things that I will vote for you, regardless. And I think it's the same thing if the Democrats really found a real progressive. There'd be a lot of libertarians who'd say, you know, you're really wrong about some things, but I think you're right on enough of the important things that I'd vote for you regardless. Which is the ironic situation I think both the parties are in, is that they both deny what their base is, what could actually win them elections, just because I think really the parties don't want that kind of transformative change that would come with that kind of victory.
Yeah. I mean, they love their money in politics. They will not let that happen. I mean, they will defend Citizens United to the death. Which is another ironic thing about Ted Cruz, is that he claims to be like this person of the people, but he has, like, huge super PACs. And he said that Democrats who tried to defund Citizens United were against the First Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
which is why I don't know, man. I think he's just like
Well, I think
a wolf in
I
sheep's
think
clothing.
he's definitely a slimy guy. I agree with you. There's lots of BSing going on, but at least the religious stuff, I think he actually seriously believes that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but maybe that was also like the whole thing with George Bush, because if you remember, like he said that he supported the war in Iraq because some religious shit. He said. I don't
Because
know what
yeah,
the quote was exactly.
that's yeah something about the end of your world taking place there or something like that.
Yeah, and I mean, I do think that Ted Cruz is like a really big proponent of Israel also.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
So I mean, you might have a point as far as that is concerned, and maybe that's why he's so war hawkish because he is like a big time Christian and he like wants to wipe Muslims off the face of the earth or something. I don't know,
Hmm.
but
yeah, but
as far as the
I
other
don't
stuff
know.
is
Like,
concerned, he's so slimy.
yeah, like here's the thing. Like he went to like Harvard and like Princeton. I think he went to Princeton. I think he
Yeah,
went to
well,
Harvard
Princeton.
Law too. Like I don't know. I just don't know if he really is that religious.
And you know what else is funny about him going to Princeton is that he would only study with other Ivy League students. You
Wow,
know,
that's very
that's a real down to earth conservative guy, right?
yeah.
The man of the
Yeah.
people, right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he comes off as extremely slimy.
Hmm.
Yeah, I also don't think he's that religious either. I don't know. I think he's just putting on a front.
Yeah, all the people from college apparently said he was like the worst person they've ever met. Like that he's the most arrogant,
Well,
like snob. So
don't confuse being religious with being a good person. Those are removed concepts.
I don't know. The religious stuff it could really just be a front for something else.
I think most people that are
Just don't.
fundamentalists though are not like really like they might be religious in one sense, but they don't really like understand what they're talking about.
I don't know.
There's a lot of people that really are religious, like maybe like the Pope,
Mhm.
then they have a different understanding of I don't know. Maybe that's like I'm painting that with a broad brush. Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely am probably, but
Well,
I don't know.
I think religion is such a disparate and like divided concept because there's so many
Yeah,
branches of Christianity in the U.S. that he
Yeah,
could be religious and believe nothing of what you generally think makes someone Christian, right? Like very
yeah,
easily that could be the case. Like even like case in point, like the whole healthcare thing is perfect case in point of what are you guys doing? Like this is like
yeah.
how can you not see how this is not Christian at all?
yeah,
um,
I don't understand how this country is still like so against single payer healthcare.
yeah. I
Literally the only developed country in the world.
yeah.
It's
It's
ridiculous.
it's crazy, and you know what? It pisses me off even more than that is that Democrats act like it's like ridiculous that we should have single payer health care. Like
Yeah.
that just bothers me so much. Like how
They
can
don't
you
want to
call yourself
socialize medicine, you know, that's why we fought against the Soviet Union, you know.
yeah.
We don't want bread
no,
lines.
Yeah, dude.
it gets because they don't think they can win on it.
Which
I
is
don't think I think they just
why
don't
don't
believe in it.
Maybe they don't believe in it because they don't think they could win on it, so they're immediately removing themselves from wanting it because they are telling themselves I can't have it, so I shouldn't fight for it.
I think
Just
also a lot of them just don't want it. Like I think a lot of them
Yeah.
are truly just ideologically center right.
Yeah,
Well,
I
then
mean,
if
if you
you honestly
understand like the
believe the
way
left
politics work
is
in this country, like all of those Democrats, like Hillary
let's let
Clinton says, she was raised on Henry Kissinger, you know?
Yeah.
Like
then we get back to something I said earlier. It's an interesting point. Then is Clinton not right then in saying that this whole Sanders thing is a fad? If you want us to believe the majority of the Democratic base is actually just kind of center right.
I don't think the majority is. When I was talking about Democrats, I meant like pundits.
Oh yeah.
no, I mean I do think there is a divide in the age gap, but the same
Yeah.
thing is like there are also a lot of baby boomers who want their Social Security, which they're just not going to get,
Hmm.
you know?
Mm.
And I mean, we're definitely not going to get it at the rate we're going.
Yeah.
So I think it becomes more, I guess, towards the Sanders camp as you get younger. Like once you get to the millennial age,
Hmm.
then it really matters. I mean, maybe that election 2024 might be the turning point. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess it depends on whether or not, because in Canada, a large part of it was the NDP who pushed for it were able to convince the right that that was the best way to go. I think that's what you have to do is you have to talk those anti-social justice warrior types. You'd have to convince them for 2024 that single payer is the way to go, and I think that's when you'll win
Yeah,
on it.
I just don't think that. I mean, did Canada have a really large anti-communist movement like it was in the U.S.?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they did, but I don't think it was to the rate where you have people like Hillary Clinton, who's supposed to be the progressive, saying that she was raised on Henry Kissinger. You know?
Well, yeah, well, okay, so when you guys had like Chicago-style economics, because I'm agreeing with you here, when you guys had Chicago-style economics and Nixon and Kissinger and Reagan, we had Trudeau. Trudeau was the guy who invited Castro over to Ottawa for a week and was
Yeah,
friends with him.
it's completely different.
So yeah, I guess
We just operate completely different from the rest of the world.
Yeah.
I guess yeah. Yeah, I don't have much to say to that. You guys just are weird.
Yeah. Like, wouldn't Castro even go on, like, Canadian talk shows or something like that? Like, in the 70s?
Yeah, in
Yeah.
the 60s, 70s, he's on, like, CBC every once in a while.
Yeah, and, like, meanwhile, 10 years later here, like, freaking giving people money for if they have a disability is, like, that's, like, scary. That's getting into, like, Stalinist territory.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And I think that gets back to something. It all comes back to my broader point of, is Clinton right that this is a fad? Because
I don't think
really,
it's a fad.
I think people, the moment they hear the right rhetoric, they stop thinking about it just because the rhetoric was correct. And as much as it might be an age thing, I think we're in a bubble here, right? We're people who probably hang out with predominantly, certainly the people we're talking to each other right now. We're all very left-wing people. You guys are more left-wing for your context than I am. I'm actually not incredibly left-wing for my country, to say the least. But I think that's it. Is that you're in a bubble. I don't think you're actually getting an honest perspective of what the majority of your generation believes. Maybe a large part of the people like you across the country, but not the generation writ large.
I don't know. I think the right that are in our age group are kind of weird and obscure and smaller compared to the previous generations.
That's because you're young, but when you're 30, will that still be the case? I don't know, because as I grew up, I'm starting to see a lot of people who were even left-wing 3 years ago, they aren't left-wing anymore. Like, they see what's going on with the refugees, and that's made them right-wing, because they don't feel we should be taking in Syrian refugees.
Yeah, like, well, I have a friend who was, like, left-wing, and then he became, like, a Trump supporter, because, like, he went to England, which is where he's from, and he's like, yeah, there's a lot of Muslims there, and now he's just, like, a... And, yeah, but like Mahmoud was saying, though, like, the right in our age group is, like, kind of obscure, because, like, he's a Trump supporter, but, like, if you ask him, like, I don't know, like, should we... Like he like hates Israel, he just has a bunch of like positions that you wouldn't really consider right.
Well, you got to think that the right of now would have been obscure and weird to the right of the 50s, right? Like, or the 40s. Like, being pro-Israeli or pro-Jewish would not be a right-wing position not that long ago. That'd be a very left-wing position.
True.
So these things evolve.
Yeah.
I think Israel's like that because I think this younger right is realizing the irony of being anti, helping out other countries while at the same time supporting Israel, the biggest receiver of aid. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think there's someone who I think some of them are beginning to realize the irony of that position. You know, outside of whether or not I agree with it, that is. But yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
it's the same way. You know, the right in Canada completely surrendered on all social issues, right? Like they'll evolve as the time demands they evolve, just like the left will evolve as time demands it evolves. It's just a matter of whether or not we're living at the beginning, or if we're living in the middle of that evolution. I'd say we're at the beginning of it, and that's why I think Clinton has an honest chance of winning, and that she can ignore her progressive base. But I think when we're 30, and the people who are 70 now are dead, I think that's when the Democrats will be incapable of ignoring. In fact, it might not even be a case of whether or not they ignore it. It might simply just be the case that most of the Democratic Congress people are just already agree with us. And they don't need to be convinced.
There are already people who are like our age, have grown up with the same things we have, affected in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't think it's a fad. I mean,
as you have the middle class in America is shrinking, and you're probably going to have a lot of more disenfranchised youth, and I think, depending on what message they get, they're probably more inclined to lean left than they are to lean right.
But that's not historically what happens, though. Historically, they don't necessarily lean to the left. Historically, you just see everyone run to the corner in equal droves, and then things fall apart. That's not going to the left. That's things falling apart.
Well, they could go
that's usually what happens.
Far left. When I say the far left, I mean in our context, like in America.
But you also have to take in consideration the expansion of education that is brought by the internet and the internet age, and people can just find things and form their positions based on that.
So you're betting on people being unique. I don't feel that's the case. I don't feel we're special or unique.
Yeah, I feel like a lot will jump to the far right too. I've seen a lot of people who have, but I think a lot of them will jump to the far left. But what they won't jump to is like the moderate position.
Yeah, I think that's dying out. That's for sure dying out. There might be like more extremes.
Yeah, that's usually what happens when the situation we currently live in occurs. But yeah, I think you're confusing access to information as education, and I don't feel people are actually educated. Like I was amazed to find out when I was doing a live show weekly that you guys don't have civics necessarily in every high school. Like that's a pretty big thing.
Yeah, I don't have
to actually not understand.
Our education system is awful.
I think that's exactly it. It's just because the internet is there doesn't mean people will look in the right place to become educated. Like,
there's
you're going to go watch a anti-social justice warrior on YouTube.
Yeah, that's like what stupid people our age will do. They'll flock to all this stupid videos and the stupid I don't know, like Paul Joseph Watson.
But I knew some kids who used to watch The Amazing Atheist and all of this shit, and now they're Bernie Sanders supporters, for example.
Well, I think it goes both ways. The Amazing Atheist, though, it goes both ways. I think you're right. We're still in the age when everyone's forming their political views, but I'm just saying, I think you're not going to see people rush to the left. I think you're just going to see people rush to their respective corners when their political views start to settle in.
Yeah, because I've also seen a lot of Amazing Atheist people who support Trump, but what they don't support is Clinton or Rubio or something.
Yeah.
We could agree that they are jumping to the far left, but they're also jumping to the far right.
Yeah, and I don't think the Amazing Atheist is the worst you can get anymore. I think the Amazing Atheist has certainly.
Oh yeah, I mean it's more tame compared to what you have now.
Totally. Yeah, he's not even
But it was kind of like a precursor to this whole anti-social justice warrior stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, but even I used to watch The Amazing Atheist, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I did too.
I think everyone did just because he was at the time there wasn't a lot of people like him, right? So everyone watched him. He was in that was on YouTube at the same time as like Ray William Johnson when there just wasn't a lot,
Yeah.
and everyone watched the same thing.
Yeah, but I think he also did birth a lot of what we have now, though, as well. I think those people took a lot of what he was saying and then they just kind of expanded on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I think so. People like Sargon of Akkad.
Yeah, like that's more so what I'm worried about is Vernoculus and Sargon of Akkad, those kind of characters. I think that's a thing. I think that's a thing.
It's the thing. It's definitely. It's like I don't even know what you would call those people. Those aren't even. Would you call them like Trump people? Because I don't even think
They refer themselves as. Generally, they refer to themselves as off the chart, just in every respect, whether the alt-right.
Uh-huh.
Oh god, so they consider themselves like third positionists. So
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a rise of like Jacksonianism. I think that's like the new right in America.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Which I think will be interesting just because just being a Canadian, seeing how the Conservatives will respond to that. Just because the greatest for all of Harper's flaws, I'd say his greatest contribution to the Canadian political landscape was keeping a cap on all that and completely quashing out social conservatism as an effective political movement.
Yeah, I mean the Canadian Conservatives are essentially the equivalent to the establishment Democrats in America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if somebody like Cory Booker was in Canada, I think he would be like a conservative.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, I think as a Canadian, that will be the fascinating thing to see is generally since the 80s, the Canadian Conservatives and the Republicans have sort of had a coming together of sorts. Although historically they've generally not gotten along. It'll be interesting to see what happens if what I'm predicting is correct. And
I mean, I think that's just going to happen all across the world. I think there's going to be a lot of foreign leaders who are just going to be like, what the hell? And they're just not going to respect America. And I don't know. I think it's going to be pretty weird. And I do think there's going to be a rise.
You're basically on the verge of voting in Erdogan.
Yeah.
Which is
I
funny.
do think there's going to be a rise of like the ultra-nationalistic stuff in Europe and possibly the dissolution of the European Union.
Yeah. Exactly. Those who don't know their history are doomed to repeat it.
Yeah.
As they say.
Well, I mean, what even happens going forward in the primary process? I mean, Bernie Sanders might win some more things, but I mean, he's done. He's not going to catch up, especially with the superdelegates involved.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even understand why he's still running. It doesn't make any sense to me. I understand that he wants to like make a platform message at the convention, but
well, as I said, Bernie Sanders is there to make himself more effective in the Senate. So if he just stays in there, keeping Clinton honest, making a name for himself, raising money, he's achieving that objective. So I think it makes perfect sense for him to stay in the race.
But he can also do that just by having a speaking slot at the Democratic convention and just like grilling her positions.
Well, he might get
and making the platform move left.
He doesn't want to grill her though. He doesn't want to grill her. And that once you've reached the convention, he can't grill her anymore. He has to be nice. And I think he will be nice because his goal is to work with her. His goal is not to fight her. Maybe behind closed doors he can fight her, but once you get to the convention, he's done fighting. He's there to help her out. Ensure that he gets someone who will actually listen to him when they're president.
It'd be interesting to see if what if she reaches out for him to be her vice president? I doubt that would happen, and I doubt he would accept it, but what if she does do it, though?
Sanders? For Clinton to pick Sanders?
That would be hilarious.
What if Clinton reaches out to Bernie Sanders and says, do you want to be my vice president?
I find that I'd be so shocked.
I feel like it would be smart.
I highly doubt it will happen. Like, there's probably like a 1% chance of it happening. But
yeah, but it would be smart.
It would be smart, but I don't think
I don't think it'd be smart. I think that'd be smart.
Well, I know she doesn't.
She carries. Look, if she gets Bernie Sanders on her ticket, she carries Ohio. She carries Pennsylvania.
She's going to get.
But I think she can achieve that with. I think she can achieve that with more palatable options.
palatable to her, but I'm just saying, she would definitely win if she picked him.
Yeah, she would win in a landslide.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know she doesn't want that, but in the position, just looking at the Democrats winning the 2016 election, that would be a smart thing to do.
Yeah, maybe. Anyways.
Oh, it's going to be interesting. I think she's going to pick Cory Booker. That's who I have my money on. I think Donald Trump is probably going to pick somebody like Newt Gingrich or something like that.
Oh my gosh. Newt Gingrich.
It's better than Ben Carson.
No. Who was President Black Republican last time around again?
Yeah. But I mean, if he did pick Ben Carson, they will lose so badly.
Yeah.
Who was the Republican last time, the Black Republican, though, before Ben Carson?
Alan Keyes?
No,
Herman Cain, right?
Herman Cain.
I would vote for Trump if he chose Herman Cain. I don't even care. I would jump the fence and I would vote for him just because Herman Cain.
Have you guys ever seen that video where Herman Cain was explaining that it would be hard to bomb Iran because they have mountains?
What was his tax plan again? 999?
Yeah, I think so.
999.
Well,
I remember watching this 2011 primary debates.
Oh God, what were those like? I was too young for that, so I didn't even really.
We used to watch them inside my. I was in this elective class called Current Events, and the teacher just made us watch them. And oh my God, my classmates were like, I had this one classmate who sounded and acted and had politics just like Glenn Beck. He was so annoying. But he said that the Republicans needed to choose Herman Cain because quote unquote black beats black.
Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Man.
He said you got to fight fire with fire. Black beats black.
Man. The debates we had in law class were not like that. No, I had she's actually one of my best friends now, though, but we used to debate all the time in law class. And I remember one time we were debating over healthcare, and that was just the most heated debate I ever got in high school, because she had the ultra-conservative position of wanting a
private healthcare system?
No, not a private healthcare system, but a private option. So you'd have the socialized healthcare system, but you'd have a private option. So that rich people could buy themselves to the front of the line is the concept.
Then what's the point of having single payer?
It's that the poor people still get healthcare, but they have to go through the system, whereas if you're rich and you want a surgery,
that's not
instead
that
of waiting for
right-wing.
a week.
That's less right-wing than what we have.
But that's really right-wing in the context of Canada, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I just
That's
remember
still awful.
Yeah, but I just find it funny for perspective that the incredibly right-wing position in Canada on healthcare is still to the left of Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, that position here is called the public option.
Yeah.
And that's a left-wing position.
Yeah. And you know what? I think it's important to drive this point home. And you know what? Canada's not communist. It's
Not
called
even close.
communist or socialist or dangerous in some way, but we have that. In fact, the right-wing position is your far-left position, and we're still not communist.
Yeah.
Yes, not even close.
The word socialist, it just seems meaningless, like how people throw it around to describe Scandinavia, but
Yeah, but I mean that has a lot to do with the Red Scare and McCarthyism, and words just becoming words used to demonize people.
Oh no, I don't even mean it by right wingers, but I mean it by liberals too.
Yeah, I mean they adopted the same thing. They have the same mindset that they think that these positions are socialist because they were told that they were socialist.
Yeah, but even they'll be oh yeah, I'm a liberal, I'm a socialist, I like Scandinavian socialism, and it's just it's not even what it is.
You know what's fascinating though? If that opens the door for a potentially in the future having a real communist movement, because you've made what is communist such an incredibly moderate position that it's
Yeah,
borders on
that's actually a position that's
Yeah.
pretty held highly amongst a lot of communists right now who believe in
Yeah, and then you end up.
Sandinistas or intermediary people are winnable.
Like, yeah, like
I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying, like, what you'll end up doing is you open the floodgates. Is that if you have a left-wing response to a right-wing problem, it's called communist, and then you have a bunch of people. And then if it works, everyone's gonna say, "Yo, I guess communism did work." Huh. Interesting. And then you have a problem.
well, Christian, that actually sort of is happening. Not that like people start calling themselves communist because what's called communist is actually good, but like they're like the most of the communist parties of Europe like have like basically moved away from being communist. Like they don't they just want to get like into the parliament and basically just do like social democratic regular like liberal stuff.
Yeah.
Like and so like that it can almost be like a I don't know, possibly communists will be like the only ones who will actually do social democracy because it's moved so far right. And then
I don't understand why they call themselves communists though. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Because if you've changed the narrative so much that not wanting the kids to die from a lack of food is a communist position, then yes, you'll call yourself communist because you're a decent bloody human being.
Yeah, but if you don't actually believe in communism,
well, no one looks into what these.
what's the point of actually changing the narrative around communism? You know what I mean?
No one looks
Why not
into
just call yourself a socialist?
I think
what these words mean, man.
I think it has to do with like a lot of the former like communist movement has like abandoned communism. Like that's what Euro communism is basically. Like,
Yeah.
Most of the
Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like, what's the point of trying to like rebuild the image of communism if you're not a
I
communist?
don't think you're actively trying to do that. I'm
I
just
think
saying.
they're trying to change the meaning of the word. I don't think they're trying to rebuild like. I guess.
What's the point of changing the meaning of the word to mean something that already exists?
In
don't know.
the situation I'm proposing, you're not actively trying to do anything. It's the right trying to demonize the left by calling every left-wing argument communist, and then when a left-wing argument works, everyone's going to say, yo, communism worked. Then you have communists.
Yeah, that hasn't happened
Yeah, but-
yet, but that could.
I'm just saying, like, wouldn't that be a funny scenario?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be a proponent of that at all, because then you would just have a lot of confused people.
True. That would be the effect, I suppose. But I think nonetheless that would be a funny potential result.
It would be, and then all the Republicans would be like, "Fuck."
Well,
And Republicans are sorry after calling themselves communists, like right-wing communists.
They're like, "But we're
Like-
communists too."
And then communism would
free
be like
market
the word that you have to use in order to get elected. You would have to use communism every other word in a sentence. You're like, and I want to like build the wall communism, to keep the Mexicans out communism.
You're like, "Oh no." See, the thing is, we're not liberal communists. We're Reaganite communists.
Oh man.
Another crazy story from that law class. So, for about half of the class, we all had to do seminars. And what people discovered is that if you put a debate topic in your seminar, me and my right-wing friend, we would just argue it. We would just immediately, and then you could, take up 20 minutes of your 75-minute seminar just on us arguing. So what eventually started happening was people started having topics that really shouldn't be debated. Like, in the sense that, like, the good and the bad answer are so obvious. And they try to make it into a debate topic, so finally this group we want one of you, they basically were supposed to debate the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And they assigned me on the communist side. The Soviet Union voted against that. It was me and one other guy against the girl I always argue with and the rest of the class. And we won, me and the other guy. We successfully convinced the class that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was bad. So for the rest of the year, were trying to convince the class it was good again because they were all just like holding these horrible, Stalinist positions, and we're like, guys, stop. That was great. That was
You can
not
convince people that world peace is a bad thing.
Yeah, that human rights are just like bourgeois, whatever.
Well, I mean, apparently the Supreme Court was convinced that corporations are people, so I don't think it's that far-fetched.
Yeah, true.
And that money is free speech.
Yeah, because that's the money in politics that's really giving a voice.
That's
to,
like straight
everyone.
out of like an Ayn Rand utopia.
Yes.
Money is free speech.
Yeah. That's where we are, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think I should go have dinner at some point. So,
Yeah, well, this has been going on almost 2 hours.
It's been going on for pretty long.
So,
All right,
Alright.
I think we should have this like every week.
Yeah.
maybe not 2 hours.
Yeah, but
Yeah, not 2 hours, like an hour.
Yeah, an hour would be good. All right, this is good. I got to do some studying, so I'll see you guys.
All right, see you.
Yes.